Hi, I'm Jherane Patmore. I'm the owner and founder of Rebel Women Lit. We are a book club turned literary community based here in Jamaica. We focus on stories that are written by women, non-binary people, queer people here in the Caribbean and across the world. A lot of the spaces that I was in terms of women's and queer advocacy, a lot of it had to do with either work, either talking to men or talking to straight people about why you need to recognize the humanity of these people, or they went to the other extremes of just being parties. And I wanted a space that nerds like me could fit in and just chill and have that space. So initially I created the book club just for that, for persons who were women, persons who were queer, persons who were comfortable around these spaces, being able to just talk about stories that were shared. And it kind of blossomed into way more than that. So right now, in addition to having the book club, we have a bookstore, we have a podcast, a YouTube channel, and we are almost like a hub for writers and readers alike in the Caribbean and in the diaspora. In addition to that, we've done a lot of advocacy work directly and indirectly, most recently with our work with abortion and abortion stories. So we've collected stories from Jamaicans who've had abortions here, and that has been recently presented in Parliament. So I think at the core of it is my belief that stories and the stories that we have to share can change the way we view each other, can change the way we view our humanity. I think my number one advice is to read. Read a lot. There's a lot of work that has been done by not just women, but people who've been doing work in gender, people who've been doing work in justice, people who've been doing work across protesting, across the human races, and ensuring that we achieve equality, achieve justice. So read everything you can find. There's centuries of work being done, and it doesn't make sense to reinvent the wheel. So read, and when you're finished reading, see how you can take action, see how you can share what you've learned, and how do you keep building on that in your space in the community, and be genuine to who you actually are. So don't do something just because it's cool right now or just because you see other people doing it. If you're particularly interested in something, do the research, do the work. There are avenues there, and network with people who are also putting in the hard work to get it done. Budding advocates, if you're based here in the Caribbean, I think it's very important for us to read about what's happening in Caribbean feminisms across the Caribbean. It doesn't make sense to replicate what's happening in the US. We can learn about what's happening there, what's happening in Europe, but we have a very different approach to women's rights here in the Caribbean. We didn't have a thing where women were staying at home and taking care of children. We were always working. Whether before labor, from slavery to today, women have always been involved in the labor force. So we have to take a different approach here in the Caribbean. So I would suggest reading some Peggy Antrobus. She has done work across the Caribbean and over the years. I think she's fundamental to our understandings of women's movement here. I think also if you are going to go abroad right now, I have a deep passion in understanding the prison systems, and not just how that affects women, but prison systems overall, and how that colonial legacy still lives on today. We see that in Jamaica with prisoners who've been arrested for 30, 40, 50 years without trial. These are issues that I think everyone should have as their issues as well. So I would suggest reading some Angela Davis. Thankfully, she's one of those activists who've done a lot of work internationally. So understanding what's happening here, understanding what's happening abroad and how it can be applicable here. Yeah, so Peggy Antrobus, Angela Davis, those would be my two introductory steps. I think something we say a lot is that the personal is political, but I think we truly need to understand that the personal decisions that we make, the personal choices that we do and don't make, they do affect the political. So one of the things that has been somewhat depoliticized, but we really do need to reclaim it, is the idea of self-care, and the idea that you do need to take care of yourself, take care of your community, to be able to empower yourself and empower others around you. That doesn't necessarily mean doing a face mask. It can mean doing a face mask, but it can also mean you ensuring that what bill is being put forward in Parliament, you're aware of it, you're able to speak on it, you're able to talk to your representatives and get things done. It also means reaching out to your communities. So if it is that you are doing something in your own space, is it reaching everyone that you want to reach? So are persons who are disabled able to reach what you're doing? Are persons in rural areas able to get access to what you're doing? So that's what I think it means with personal is political. What you're doing in your individual spaces, how do you ensure that you make it accessible? How do you ensure that the political angles of what you're doing make sense? So self-care in terms of taking care of yourself, taking care of your community is very important. I love a good spa day, but that's not just what self-care is. Self-care for me, it takes many forms. It takes ensuring that my bills are paid on time. It means also ensuring that the issues that I'm speaking about, I'm actually aware of what they are. Self-care for me means educating myself. It also means educating people around me. Self-care can take the form of ensuring that I go to therapy, or I'm taking time off to say, okay, I'm doing a lot of work politically, or I'm doing a lot of work with the book club, I'm doing a lot of work with the bookstore. How do I take time to replenish what it is and actually evaluate, am I actually doing what I want to do? And that to me is tied into our understanding of freedom and how do we strive for freedom every day as an individual and as a community. In terms of staying grounded and centered, what really drives me and the work that we do at the book club in Rebel Women Lit is staying focused not so much on myself, but I believe in a higher principle in politics. So at the end of the day, am I achieving what I want to do? Is that, okay, Jherane, you want to make literature more accessible. It's not just for people who can afford it, it's for people who, anywhere, if you're in Jamaica, are you able to access these books, which is why we started the library. It's going back to my politics, going back to where I would have started and understanding these are my political cores. That's how I stay grounded. It's something beyond just who I am. If I were to go back in time and talk to younger Jherane, I think the advice I would give her is stop being so hard on yourself. So I really thought I would have had all of this figured out. So when I just started off coming out of school, I would have done work in agricultural engineering, I would have done work in advocacy, and I'm still figuring out. So be kind and gentle with yourself as you figure it out, but at the same time still strive for excellence.